Two Souls Abroad by VMS, a new novel. Prologue, The Journey Before the Journey. Airports, Mira always thought smelled of beginnings, of goodbyes and possibilities. She sat by the glass window of Indira Gandhi International Airport watching aircrafts rise into the deep Delhi dusk like silver birds freed from gravity. At 55, she was traveling alone for the first time in her life. Her daughter was married, settled in Singapore. Her late husband has been gone to near has had been gone for nearly a decade. For years, Mira had lived for everyone else. Now, with her heart finally unburdened, she had decided to live for herself. Across the same airport lounge, Rajiv Menon checked his passport for the third time, a habit for his years as an architect. When every detail mattered, he was 58, dignified, silver-haired, with the calm of a man who had weathered storms. His son was in Canada, his wife long gone, and retirement had given him too much silence. They boarded the same Lufthansa flight to Munich, two solitary travelers unaware that fate had seated them side by side. Chapter 1, 21A and 21B seat number. Excuse me, seat 21B. Rajiv looked up. The woman standing beside him had kind eyes and an aura of calm that reminded him of the quiet days. Yes, please, he said, raising to make space. Mira slid into her seat with a soft thank you. She was the kind of woman whose presence did not demand attention but held in nonetheless. As the plane took off, Rajiv gazed at the window while Mira opened her journal. When the cabin lights dimmed, their eyes met, two strangers suspended between earth and sky. Some meetings begin not with words but with a silence that feels like recognition. Next chapter, over the clouds, dinner trays clinked, passengers slept outside the world, was a sea of silver clouds. Mira wrote in a journal, Europe, a journey of rediscovery. Rajiv asked gently, are you a writer? She smiled. Only when my heart refuses to stay quiet. He chuckled. Then you must have a restless heart. I do, she said softly. After 50, you learn restlessness is not rebellion, it's longing. Their conversation drifted easily from literature to architecture, children to solitude. By the time dawn streaked the horizon, they had spoken more truth to each other than to most people in years. Next chapter, Munich mornings. Munich greeted them with a drizzle and scent of warm pretzels. They exchanged polite goodbye at baggage claim, assuming that was the end. But the next morning at Marine Plaza, Rajiv heard a familiar laugh. Turning around, he saw Mira struggling to open her umbrella. He walked over. We must stop meeting like this, he teased. She laughed. Oh, start planning it? They shared breakfast, croissants, black coffee, and stories. When she smiled, Rajiv felt something long asleep within him stir again, not romance but possibility. They decided to explore together just for the day. The day, of course, became many more. Next chapter, it is in Vienna walls. They boarded a train to Vienna. The journey through the Alps was breathtaking. Mira leaned by the window, lost in the blur of mountains and villages. Doesn't it feel, Rajiv said, like we have stepped into someone else's dream? She nodded, maybe our own, long delayed. That night they attended a Mozart concert. When the orchestra began to waltz, Rajiv extended his hand, one dance. Mira hesitated, then placed her hand in his. They danced, two silhouettes swaying under chandeliers, their steps uncertain yet perfectly in rhythm. The audience applauded the music, but the true performance was between them, silent, tender, inevitable. Next chapter, it is in Prague, Reflections. In Prague, they wandered through cobblestoned alleys, cathedrals that whispered of centuries. At Charles Bridge, as the sun dipped behind the Vltava river, Mira said, I always dreamed of standing here with someone who understood silence. Rajiv smiled, then stopped dreaming. They stood there, hands entwined, as the city lights flickered like fireflies. Something sacred had begun, a companionship deeper than youth's passion, calmer than routine marriage, a meeting of souls that had waited lifetimes. Letters never sent. The next chapter. In her hotel room, Meera began writing letters she had never sent to her daughter, her late husband, her younger self. Dear Meera, you waited too long to live for yourself, but you did it, and that is enough. Rajiv meanwhile sketched her silhouette by the window, capturing the serenity of her presence. When he saw it, her eyes softened. You make me look peaceful. You are, he replied. You just forgot. Next chapter, it is in Paris in bloom. Paris unfolded like poetry. Montmartre's arches, the scent of fresh baguettes, the slow hum of the Siani, and everything seemed painted for them. At the Eiffel Tower, Meera asked quietly, Do you think we are too late for love? Rajiv turned to her. Love doesn't keep time, only people do. Their first kiss beneath the glowing iron tower was slow, deliberate, not an escape but a homecoming. For the first time, they allowed themselves to be seen, touched, and truly known. The next chapter, the cafe of choices in a quiet Parisian cafe, they spoke about what came next. Rajiv said, we could return to India, resume our routines, our solitude. Meera smiled. Or we could travel more, write, paint, breathe. He reached across the table. Together, she met in gaze. Together. And just like that, they made a choice, not for duty, but for desire. The next chapter, Tuscan sunsets. They rented a car and drove through Tuscany's rolling vineyards. The countryside glowed in gold and olive. They stayed in a farmhouse surrounded by lavender. Meera cooked small, simple meals. Rajiv painted the hills. Evenings were filled with laughter, spilled wine, stories of their past, wounds that no longer hurt, just whispered. Love, they learned, was not in grand gesture but quiet companionship, folding laundry, sharing a meal, holding a hand without needing to speak. The next chapter, it is about whispers in Venice. In Venice, they drifted through moonlit canals in gondola. Meera rested her head on Rajiv's shoulder. I never believed in twin flames, she said softly. Rajiv kissed her head. Belief is not required. Some truths just are. When they reached the shore, she whispered, This feels eternal. He smiled. Then let's stop calling it love. Let's call it home. The next chapter, The Promise in Luzon. By the lake Luzon in Switzerland, they watched swans glide across mirrored waters. Rajiv said, We have spent our lives belonging to others. Shall we belong to each other now? Meera nodded, not as possession, but as presence. They exchanged no vows, no rings, only an understanding. They did not need a marriage, they needed meaning. That evening, as the Alps glowed pink in sunset, they felt married by the universe itself. And the next chapter, the return flight. Weeks later, abroad, the return flight to India, they sat side by side again. This time, not as strangers, Rajiv whispered. We left as two passengers. We returned as one story. Meera smiled. And this story won't end at landing. Outside, clouds parted to reveal the blue vastness of home. Inside, peace, soft, complete. Epilogue, two souls abroad. Back in India, they did not resume old lives. They began new ones. Rajiv turned his sketches and travel notes into an art series. Meera published her first memoir, Wings of Destiny, A Journey Beyond Age and Time. They became quiet icons among friends, proof that it is never too late to find love, joy, and purpose. Every year, they returned to Europe, not to revisit places, but to renew the feeling that had changed everything. They knew that when the final flight of life came, they would board it together, hand in hand, unafraid, with hearts forever allied. Because some souls are destined not to meet, but to reunite.